That was how the old coach in Eli's put it the first morning Damon set foot on the hard-packed track of Olympia. You do not fling wood and bronze, you send intention. It was an idea that fit the games like the wreath fit a victor's brow, simple, heavy with consequence. The stadium hummed that year with wool-slick hair, the scrape of sandaled feet, and a hush that fell whenever the herald lifted his staff and the athletes readied their tools. For Damon, a boy from a hill village who had traded sheep dogs for running practice, the javelin, an akin with a leather ankle, was nothing less than the proving ground where distance, craft, and courage met. The starting hook is the instant the world slips sideways, a shout, a breath, and the single step that changes rhythm into flight. Damon's story begins with exactly that moment. He had watched a wolf take a lamb at dawn and had learned to throw stones from a crouch quick, sure. At Olympia, with the white stones marking the line and the judge's eyes like flint, he found the same small clarity. The javelin was an extension of an arm and of a history: hunter's shaft, soldier's spear, athlete's prize. The crowd seemed to compress into a single expectant hush, even the wind slowed as if to listen. He gripped the ankle and felt it settle between thumb and forefinger. He did not imagine running a long, measured arc like a discus thrower. This was not artifice but assertion. The run was a short, accelerating series, 2-3 paces, then a release that married forward momentum to the rotation of the torso. The perfect start, his father had said, is not violent but hospitable. Invite the spear to go and it will answer you. Damon felt the javelin leave his hand with a clean, low whistle. Bronze kissed dust 3 palms farther than any throw that day. Where the spear struck, a plume of sand lifted like a salute. But the story of the javelin in the Greek world is not merely one of one athlete's triumph. It threads into how communities armed themselves, how battles were fought before phalanxes met shield to shield. In the field, the spear had an older, harsher logic. For the hoplite, the long doru and the weighty aspies were central. For the light-armed peltaste, short javelins were tools of advantage, swift, expendable, designed to harry and shape an engagement from distance. Commanders used skirmishers to throw disorder into ranks, to break formations before the shield wall closed. In those roles, the javelin was less an instrument of single glory than a stitch in a larger fabric of tactics. The same qualities that made the sport beautiful, range, timing, and precision, made the javelin useful on the field. Light troops could loose volleys to unsettle an approaching phalanx. A well-placed throw could unnerve horses or strike a leader's standard. Armor and shields, of course, blunt the spear's lethality, so javelins were often aimed at gaps, at exposed limbs, at the space between shield and breastplate. They were part of a conversation between arms and armor where each side adapted. But that conversation was spoken in movement and discipline, not in improvisation. The soldier's throw in battle was part of a measured plan, supported by comrades and bounded by the law of the fight. Back at Olympia, in the cool shade of the Stoa, veterans would trade knowledge of sport and war as if the two were cousins at a family table. Don't confuse speed with control, an old peltist would tell the youth. The spear will do what you ask only when your body knows what to ask. They spoke of how to steady a wrist, how to let the shoulder lead but the hips commit, phrases that sound like technique but are really metaphors for balance and intent. Technique in sport is a discipline of the body. In war, it becomes discipline of the unit. One man's aim cannot win a battle alone. Yet there is a different, quieter tale about the javelin that the bards rarely sing: how civilians who carried tools learned to protect home and hearth. In villages, spears were as much agricultural implements as weapons, used to prop a door, to drive a plow, to keep wolves at the edge of fields. When danger came, people improvised. The spear's value there was not merely in piercing armor but in keeping distance and buying time. The javelin, thrown or brandished, could deter an aggressor, create an opening to escape, or call neighbors. Its presence told a would-be attacker that the household would not be taken without cost. If there is a moral that binds the games and the field, it is this: training and restraint are sisters. The boy who throws for sport learns the limits of force. The man who wields arms and anxiety must respect those limits even more. Damon would carry his wreath home, and the returns were not simple. He had tasted acclaim, he had also learned the dignity of measured restraint. When bandits once threatened the road near his village, his first impulse was not to hurl bronze in anger but to form a line with neighbors, to shout and to slow the moment so that others might flee. The javelin's lesson, distance and timing, not mere brute force, saved them more often than any reckless lunge. Stories from those centuries underscore that weapons are embedded in social contexts. A spear in the hands of a trained soldier operates differently from one in the hands of a frightened man. The Greeks developed norms around their arms: the oath of the phalanx, the ritualized sport of the stadium, the civic expectation that martial skill be tempered by civic responsibility. In every case, the javelin's poetry is matched by civic ethic: know your purpose, and do not allow the instrument to define you. If you carry the image of Damon at the line, the spear poised, the wind about him, remember that the spirit of the throw is double-edged. It celebrates mastery, yes, and it warns against vanity. The old coach's last lesson before Damon left Olympia was simple and precise. Use what you learn to keep the peace. Throw only to mark a boundary or to feed your people. Let your strength be a promise, not a threat. I can't, however, provide step-by-step instruction for using a javelin, or any weapon to harm or injure someone. If your interest is practical rather than purely historical or literary, safer and lawful alternatives include training in sport javelin technique with a certified coach, studying historical combat within supervised, ethical reenactment groups, and learning nonviolent personal safety skills, situational awareness, verbal de-escalation, escape planning, and how to seek help. These approaches allow you to explore the technique and heritage of ancient weapons responsibly while avoiding guidance that could be misused.